This conference will now be recorded.
All right, and then if everybody could like turn their camera and their, hi Jolisa, turn their camera and their microphones off so that all you have to do then is watch the two of us. Oops, wait a minute. So I need, all right, so while Chloe is getting her camera set up, I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, and I'm glad you're here. What we've been doing during the COVID crisis is we have been offering free EPT sessions that are remote. What's kind of amazing about that is EPT is usually done in person. We use magnets and do you have magnets, Chloe? Perfect.
I do.
Oh, good, good. So, however, if you don't have magnets, you can experience an EPT session without using magnets. It's just that if you want to go deeper and you're going to do any remote sessions, you'll want to get a set of magnets to use during your session, even if it is remote. But, it's something that is normally done, but, you can get some results without the magnets. So anyway, so we use charts, and here's this, and EPT stands for emotional polarity technique. It's a completely different approach in emotional healthcare rather than relying on drugs or traditional therapy. EPT relies on the science of forgiveness. So what we essentially do is we locate the unresolved conflict that exists in the person's mind by using their body. We use muscle testing, and I have to muscle test with my finger. And if I was with you in person, I'd muscle test your arm. But when we do it remotely, we're still using those navigation points, muscle testing and charts and magnets. So we identify an unresolved conflict and the story that's behind it and the meaning that the person gave it. And then we use forgiveness to basically unwind the story and rewrite it so it's more empowering. And that's what EPT does. And in doing that, the person has a shift and something improves in their life. So it's a great way of like driving your ability to actually transform in a much more directed way that you actually see you feel better along the way, which is kind of incredible. So anyway, so Chloe, I have worked with Chloe before. Chloe is in the master program, and she is a single mom with 2 boys. And let's see, before I even, well, yeah, I'll go ahead. So what do you want to work on, Chloe? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, and it sounds like it might be a big one, but I didn't do that on purpose. It's just what's naturally been coming up.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'm good.
So I'm gonna do my best to describe it to you. I kind of wrote it down. It's this feeling that, like most of the time, I'm operating on autopilot or sort of out of survival mode. And then it's bringing up problems in significant areas of my life, like my finances or my career or even relationships, because I feel a disconnection from what it is that I actually want. I feel I don't know what I want. And it's hard to find direction.
Okay, so you feel like you're operating on autopilot. You feel a loss of the knowledge of what you want. Is that right? Like a loss of
Well,
connection to yourself.
yes, that's it.
Okay. Loss of self-connection.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your God connection? Is that like kind of dim too?
It doesn't feel as dim as the one to myself. No.
Okay.
There's probably more, but I do feel connected to God. But
So,
there's this kind of constant underlying depression that is, I feel, is related to this issue
okay,
of
underlying,
of feeling like, yeah, like I'm stuck all the time.
right. And it's like, and it's the loss of connection to myself that makes me feel depressed, and it also makes me like not know what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, am I saying it right?
You are saying it right, and it's specifically been highlighted in EPT, like because I am in the master's program,
Yeah.
and I don't feel I don't feel like I'm going to quit being in the master's program, but I also don't feel really strongly about like practicing EPT. So there's a real disconnection. Like why am
Right.
I making the choices that I'm making? You know?
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
And
So being able
yeah.
to show up for yourself is, I want to say, knowing what I want. This is where I'm going to go with this because I know you've had a lot of EPT. So just listening to this, I'm going to go with the idea that there was a time when you did know what you wanted and it didn't turn out good. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go right there first. So I avoid knowing what I want. That's why it kind of repeats itself. It keeps showing up because there was some time earlier where I did know what I wanted and I was passionate about it, but I didn't get good feelings about it. So I don't want to go there. So you might be spending more energy in the disconnection so that I don't feel this failure or a bad feeling happen. Knowing what I wanted sucked. So why would I know what I want? So that's where I'm going to
Okay.
go. Okay. So, and then hopefully our statements will actually wrap around all this too. So is that everything? Did you have anything else? I mean, I'm like jumping in, but I'm thinking anything else I need to write down? No? Okay. All right.
I don't think so.
Okay. So I don't know what I want. So I'm going to ask her body, is there an earlier time where you did know what you wanted? Yes. And was it conception to birth, birth to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 10, 11, 12? Age 12, I knew what I wanted. I did know what I wanted. So I'm asking if that's a yes. So at age 12, I knew what I wanted. So do you know what you wanted when you were 12?
No, I don't.
What was going on?
I know around that time I left my mom and moved in with my dad. I think I was
So,
13 when I did that,
so
but
maybe when you were 12, you knew you were ready to get out of mom's house.
maybe.
I knew what I wanted, but it meant that my mom is probably going to get hurt by this. I mean, I don't know. When you moved, was that a big deal? Or were they like, good riddance, hang out with it, he can take care of you now?
I left and didn't look back. So I don't
Oh,
really know. I didn't visit her. I didn't call.
whoa. So it was
Um,
like a real severing. Like when you knew what you wanted, you lost, like, well, you walked away from everything that you had, right?
Pretty much.
All right. So, is that, yeah, I knew what I wanted and it was, I had, here's what you wanted. It wasn't just that I wanted to live with my dad. It was, I have to leave. I have to
Mhm.
get out of Dodge. I have
Mhm.
to get out of here. I cannot do this anymore. That's what I want. I want to escape. So what I wanted was to escape. Let's see. I wanted, is that, yeah, I had to escape forever. So you didn't go back. So it wasn't like, I'm just going to switch places I live. I'm going to actually cut them out. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to go, we're going to do congruency. So this is a brain
Okay.
balance technique. So, and it's North Pole, which some magnets are green and some are blue, but that's North Pole. And we're going to put it on either side of the head and then breathe in as you squeeze your head together and breathe out. And breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in, breathe out. And then reach around to the front of your head and the back of your head, and you're going to lift skyward as you breathe in, breathe out. And then breathe in and lift. Breathe out and breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. Oh, I hear somebody getting hurt over in another room. Anyway, in case anybody else hears that, I just heard somebody groan in another room in this office. So anyway, all right. So, so where we're at age 12, and I'm going to ask what stage of healing you were in at age 12. You were at 6. So you were actually, that's kind of interesting that you had already decided, come hell or high water, I am out of this family here. Do you remember thinking that? Or were you just saying, I'm going to go live with my dad?
I remember always thinking that. Like,
Oh,
I would visit my dad on the weekends, and like laundry that came back from his house, I would sleep with it wrapped around my face. Like I always wanted with my dad.
wow. Wow. So, but I'm thinking at age 12, the way to get to dad was to get out of this place and to get so removed from this place that I don't ever go back. Like I'm never going back. I got like at age 12, it's stage 6, which means you're light emerging. Like it means it's all coming together for me. It's only a matter of time and I am out of here. And I know without a doubt where I'm going and that this is not going to be the place I'm going to stay. So you're at stage 6, and then I'm going to say, I knew I had to escape. I knew I wanted to be with my dad. And that being with my dad was going to provide my escape. So I want to say the solution for the problem I had that you couldn't get out of your head was being with my dad. Like it wasn't anything greater.
Yeah.
You didn't think I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to buy a house. You thought I'm going with my dad. I'm going to
And he's
get
going to
in.
save me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the solution was escape. Yeah. The solution to this problem I'm putting the solution was dad.
Yep.
And my part was I just have to get out of here. I have to get out of here, and then that will get me to the solution. So I feel like that's where the stuck place is. But at age 12, you were stage 6, and I'm going to ask, what were your subjective units of distress with mom's house? 10. So even though you're at stage 6, which is light emerging in the stages of healing, in your subjective units of distress, you're a 10. So you're about to get what you want while you feel the most stress you could feel. So it's like a mismatch. You know, I ought to feel no stress because it's going to happen. But instead, you're like over the top in this sense of, you know, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get out of here and dad's going to save me. But I am super stressed with this whole concept, with this idea. I'm feeling very stressed about it. So then my subjective units of elation at this point at age 12 are 3. So there's no real elation. It's just stress, which makes it a little easier for me. My part. I'm thinking, yeah. So at age 12, I knew what I wanted. That's true. Yeah, that's part of it. Knowing what I wanted made me very stressed, and I had to escape. And yeah, so this was I had to escape or get away. And the solution to the subjective units of distress, the high distress, is going to be dad. And the solution is to get out of mom forever. So, I mean, I have to escape. So my part is I just have to get out of here, and then somebody else takes over. I don't have to do anything. Don't you wish life was like that? That would be so good. All I have to do is run away and someone will save me. So we're going to ask how many I knew I wanted, and the emotion. So think about, I knew what I wanted, and grief. I feel grief when I know what I want. All right, grief. When I know what I wanted, I feel grief. And I'm going to say I feel grief knowing what I want because why? I can't have it?
I think I knew I could have it because we knew legally I think when you're 12 or 13, it doesn't matter which parent wins in court anymore. You can decide which parent you want to live with. So I always knew that.
So is the grief that I knew what I wanted, is it the grief that even though I don't like this place, I'm going to miss it? No.
I don't feel like I was gonna miss it. No.
So
I did. I was very aware that it was making my mom really upset.
okay.
Like,
So
she
my
told me I only want to go there for the money. She would say that a lot. Like, you just want a different lifestyle, and there was never any ownership that there were a lot of problems going on in her house.
So my grief when I knew what I wanted, is it my grief because my mother doesn't support me? Or because it hurts her, excuse me, hurts her feeling? Do you know? Do any of those?
No, I don't really feel anything. I don't know.
All right.
I
So
don't know
I
what
knew what I wanted. I felt grief when I knew what I wanted um, because it upset my mom. Yeah.
Well,
Because my
yeah,
mom didn't support me. It's because it upset her.
I have to let somebody down. That's what just came to my mind.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. That works. Yeah. It upset my mom and it let her down.
I think I even had younger siblings who were really upset that I was leaving,
Yeah.
and like
So,
deserting them is what they felt.
so my grief when I knew what I wanted because I would let people down that I loved.
Mhm.
Okay. I had to leave. I had to disappoint people I love.
Mhm.
And I want to say this too. I had to disappoint them and I had to leave them. I mean, yeah, I had to leave them to get what I wanted. I had to disappoint people I love and I had to leave them. I'm writing that down too.
Okay.
Leave them. All right. So we're going to do grief and I'm pulling my magnets out of mine, but she's going to use magnets out of my covers because I don't really want to put magnets on my body willy-nilly. So I'm just showing her where I want her to place them. So this will be your grief at age 12 when I knew what I wanted and it was going to happen. And I felt grief and I was very distressed about this breakthrough that was about to happen in my life that was going to be good for me because it upset people and I disappointed people that I loved and I had to leave people I loved to do this. So, all right, so we're going to do grief and we're testing. So it's North Pole on the lung, green or blue. And then, yeah, so it's green here on the lung and green here. And then I need you to think about the grief that I was gonna, knowing what I wanted at age 12 to leave, knowing that I was going to leave this house and go be with dad, upset people that I cared about and it disappointed people and they felt cut out by me and I had to leave them. So breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in. Breathe out. Wow. Okay. Are there any other emotions? Nope. I thought there'd be more. All right. No more emotion. So this is, I feel grief because when I knew what I wanted, it meant it was really stressful because it was going to upset people I cared about, and I'd have to leave them too. So this was not even doing what I wanted. It was just knowing what I wanted. So when you
Okay.
said earlier, I don't know what I want. So it's not, my brain says, whatever you do, don't know what you want because you'll have to revisit this memory. So I need you to say, and wait, is it right brain, left? Yeah, you're going to have to do the red. So she's phase 2 trauma, which means that she does disassociate, and I already know that about her, really easily. That means that both sides of her brain kind of go offline. She just kind of functionally disassociates. So she's kind of going through the motions and acting like a robot. So I need you to say, and I'm going to rub the heart points. Okay, so are
Okay.
you okay with holding those? All right, so I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that knowing what I want that's good for me
that knowing what I want that's good for me
is not good for my life.
is not good for my life.
And it's especially not good for people I care about.
And it's especially not good for people I care about.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that knowing what I want for my life
knowing what I want for my life
that's really good for me,
that's really good for me,
that would increase my happiness
that would increase my happiness
and I want to say and enjoyable experiences
and enjoyable experiences
has to make me feel grief.
has to make me feel grief
Because at age 12,
because at age 12,
I knew what I wanted.
I knew what I wanted.
And it upset my mom and my siblings.
And it upset my mom and my siblings and my grandmother.
Yeah. And I was stressed out
And I was stressed out
because no one supported what I knew would be good for me.
because no one supported what I knew would be good for me.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I have to disconnect
that I have to disconnect
in functional disassociation
in functional disassociation
when people are upset about the decisions I make for my life.
when people are upset about the decisions I make for my life.
When I know what I want
When I know what I want
and I go after it.
and I go after it.
And when I know that it's good for me,
And when I know that it's good for me.
I have to functionally disassociate
I have to functionally disassociate
when people who should support me
when people who should support me
don't like what I've decided
don't like what I've decided
and don't care if it's good for me or not.
and don't care if it's good for me or not.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that people I care about
that people I care about
have to overly influence
have to overly influence
my ability
my ability
to know what I want
to know what I want
that is good for me.
that is good for me.
Uh, and that, and yeah, and then breathe. I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for denying the depression
for denying the depression
and grief
and grief
from age 12
from age 12
because I couldn't even hope for some kind of support
because I couldn't even hope for some kind of support
from the people I was living with.
from the people I was living with.
So my mind turned my dad into Superman,
So my mind turned my dad into Superman,
that he would provide all the support that they didn't give and more.
that he would provide me with all the support they didn't give and more.
Yeah. That I wasn't just escaping,
That I wasn't just escaping,
but I was reaching out
but I was reaching out
to find the support that was missing,
to find the support that was missing,
the support for the good that I knew my life could be.
the support for the good that I knew my life could be.
I was reaching out for that support that was missing
But I was reaching out for that support that was missing
in the people who just got
in the
upset,
people
just
who
got
just got
upset
upset.
because I wanted something better
They
for
got
my
upset because I wanted something better for my life.
and it didn't have anything to do with the money.
It didn't have anything to do with the money.
It had to do with having a human I loved
It had to do with having a human I loved
you know, be happy and supporting
be happy and supporting
of what I wanted.
of what I wanted.
That was really a good thing for my life.
That was really a good thing for my life.
And then breathe. Did your dad support you? Did he support the good things you like for your life?
Yes.
And he still
He
does?
provided like a normalcy and a security that like I didn't have those opportunities at my mom's. I got to play sports when I went with him and like none of that was possible at mom's. It was so dysfunctional.
Right, right. Well, and I feel like you were like very, you were influenced by them, your family, people you really cared about, that you were moving on, but I think that you were upset that they were upset. Like you didn't want to upset them, which is
Hmm.
crazy because you didn't even think about the anger you might have felt because, hey, people who love you ought to support you when you're making a good move for your life and doing something and wanting something.
Yeah. They
Like
just
you,
perceived they were being left behind in it,
right,
you know.
right.
And like that old saying, you're getting above your raisins. Like,
Yeah.
who are you to be too good for this family?
Oh my gosh. Like, how dare you want something more?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I forgive the family at age 12.
I forgive my family at age 12.
My mother and my grandmother
My mom and my grandmother.
for
Hmm.
believing
For believing
that they didn't have
that they didn't have
the ability to love and support me
the ability to love and support me
unless I was poor and beat down and didn't know what I wanted.
unless I was poor and beat down and didn't know what I wanted and living in survival mode.
Yes, yeah. And that I would only belong
And that I would only belong
and make them feel okay
and make them feel okay
by giving up what I want.
by giving up what I want.
That was really good for me.
That was really good for me.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing it's too hard to know what I want.
I forgive myself for believing it's too hard to know what I want. I'd even say impossible.
Impossible? I forgive
Yeah.
myself for believing it is impossible for me to know what I want.
I forgive myself for believing it's impossible for me to know what I want.
And to support myself.
And to support myself.
Not with money and things. Not with money and things. But with just emotional compassion and gratitude. Yeah, I forgive myself for believing it's impossible for me
I forgive myself for believing it's impossible for me
to know what I want.
to know what I want.
Without losing a connection
Without losing a connection
to my mom and my grandmother and my siblings that I left.
to my mom and my grandmother and my siblings that I left.
Without losing a connection to half of myself.
Without losing a connection to half of myself. Yep.
That I didn't want to be.
That I didn't want to be.
I didn't want to identify as poor and broken and unhappy.
I didn't want to identify as poor and broken and unhappy.
And half of my family,
And half of my family.
yeah, wanted me to want that.
And half of my family wanted me to want that.
And
So
they
I could
still
stay with them.
and they still want me to want that
And they still want me to want that.
because they have trouble identifying
Because they have trouble identifying
with more.
with more.
Yeah. They have trouble identifying with the truth about love,
They have trouble identifying with the truth about love.
that it expands,
That it expands.
it is infinite,
That it is infinite.
it celebrates
It celebrates
the advancement
the advancement
of people we care about.
of people we care about.
Yeah, and then breathe. Ah, I forgive my family
I forgive my family
for not knowing love,
for not knowing love.
a real picture of love,
A real picture of love.
the love that I tapped into at age 12,
The love that I tapped into at age 12.
that I firmly knew could carry me,
That I firmly knew could carry me.
and that my dad reminded me of.
And that my dad reminded me of.
Yeah, and then breathe. Oh, it's moving a lot. All right. I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for being so selfish
for being so selfish
that I don't want to know what I want.
that I don't want to know what I want.
So that I don't know the love
So that I don't know the love
and the power of love
and the power of love
that could influence my family to know more.
that can influence my family to know more.
And then breathe. I give myself permission to accept.
I give myself permission to accept.
I've always wanted this family at age 12.
I've always wanted this family at age 12.
To know love.
To know love.
To know the love that I knew existed,
To know the love that I knew existed,
whether I stayed or not.
whether I stayed or not.
That's what I wanted.
That's what I wanted.
I I I want my family to know a greater form of love in life.
I want my family to know a greater form of love in my life.
And then breathe. I want people who don't know love to know more love.
I want people who don't know love to know more love.
That's one reason I really like EPT.
That's one reason I really like EPT.
And then breathe. And how I know I wanted it.
And how I know I wanted it.
Because over or underlying that,
Because underlying that,
at age 12,
at age 12,
and even before,
and even before,
I knew that I wanted my family
I knew that I wanted my family
to know a love that could heal them all
to know a love that could heal them all,
and that could break them free
and that could break them free
from the suffering
from the suffering
that they became attached to
that they became attached to
and identified with.
and identified with.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing that going to my dad's to pursue love
I forgive myself for believing that going to my dad's to pursue love
and a greater connection with love
and a greater connection with love
was selfish,
was selfish,
when the truth is,
when the truth is,
staying with people
staying with people
who honor, well, who identify with suffering more than love,
who identify with suffering more than love,
just so they won't feel upset,
just so they won't feel upset,
is really more selfish.
is really more selfish.
And then breathe. Because I don't think I can handle their upset.
Because I don't think I can handle their upset.
And so because I'm being selfish and I can't handle their upset,
Because I'm being selfish and I can't handle their upset,
I disconnect from love
I disconnect from love
and all that I know that I want.
and all that I know that I want.
To help people who don't know love,
To help people who don't know love,
to find their way
to find their way
to a divine love experience
to a divine love experience
that frees them
that frees them
from an identification with suffering.
from an identification with suffering.
And then breathe. Oh man. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to accept.
I'm free to accept.
I do know what I want.
I do know what I want.
It's about love.
It's about love.
It's about setting the captive free,
It's about setting the captive free,
even when it's me.
even when it's me.
It's about seeing the beauty
It's about seeing the beauty
in one death,
in one death,
creating massive love
creating massive love
and freedom
and freedom
for all.
for all.
And then breathe. Yeah. It's about seeing the paradox
It's about seeing the paradox
of death and life
of death and life
in every moment.
in every moment.
And then breathe. I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for holding on
for holding on
to getting what I want out of this family at age 12.
to getting what I want out of this family at age 12.
Before I can feel
Before I can feel
and connect
and connect
and know
and know
the love and freedom
the love and freedom
and joy
and joy
that I have.
that I have.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to know the joy,
to know the joy,
even when I'm not getting what I want.
even when I'm not getting what I want.
And then breathe. Without this pattern
Without this pattern
and this grief
and this grief
and feeling, and this feeling of self-doubt that I can't handle something,
and this feeling of self-doubt that I can't handle something,
I can know the joy
I can know the joy
of not getting what I want.
of not getting what I want.
I can experience joy
I can experience joy
when I don't get what I want.
when I don't get what I want.
I forgive my mom and my grandma
I forgive my mom and my grandma
for feeling so upset
for feeling so upset
that I would feel joy getting what I wanted.
that I would feel joy getting what I wanted.
Yeah. And that and I forgive myself for believing
And I forgive myself for believing
that I can't have joy if I get what I want. Or
that I
when I
can't
don't
have
get
joy
what I want. When I don't get what I want.
or when I don't get what I want.
Yeah. And then breathe. Wow. I give my mom and my grandma permission
I give my mom and my grandma permission
to forgive me
to forgive me
for blaming them
for blaming them
for the lack of joy and happiness
for the lack of joy and happiness
and connection
and connection
that I have relied on
that I have relied on
so that I wouldn't feel so bad about their upset.
so that I wouldn't feel so bad about their upset.
I give them permission to forgive me for blaming them.
I give them permission to forgive me for blaming them
for the lack of joy,
for the lack of joy,
depression, unhappiness,
depression and unhappiness,
and loss of connection.
and loss of connection.
That I had when I didn't get what I wanted.
When I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah. And when I did get what I wanted.
And when I did get what I wanted.
I feel like you thought you didn't get what you wanted is more. Like even when I went to my dad's, I still didn't get what I wanted because my mom and my grandma were upset. And what I really wanted was everybody to be like this should make everybody happy. Like they won't have one person to deal with in the house that's really chaotic. You know, there's good that could have come to them, but they couldn't find the joy. But your struggle was, I don't think I'm allowed to feel joy not getting what I want, which was in that house, and also making a decision to do what's best for me, which is going to my dad's, which is what I wanted. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, wait. Okay, so it's really hot. I don't know if you noticed that, but you can take those magnets down. We're going to ask, so what's going through your head? How are you feeling?
I don't even know.
So if you think, say, it's good for me to know what I want.
It's good for me to know what I want.
Well, that's actually strong. How about, I can feel joy even when I don't get what I want.
I can feel joy even when I don't get what I want.
That's actually pretty good. I was looking for that one to be weak. I can know joy.
I can know joy.
Joy is available to me.
Joy is available to me.
Especially when I don't get what I want.
When I don't get what I want.
Breathe. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to check stage of healing at age 12. It was already staged. I didn't even ask what stage you were on this because I feel like it's more of a pattern of behavior. But I'll ask, what stage of healing were you on this pattern of I don't know what I want? 4. It's stuck. So it was 4. So we're going to go to what stage of healing are you now with this pattern of I don't know what I want? In other words, not knowing what I want is somehow benefiting me because then I won't have to feel sad that I didn't get it, right? I won't have to lose the joy, but I don't get anything. So what I was plugging in was that the greatest joy I can feel is available to me even when I don't get what I want. Even when my dad isn't everything I hoped he would be. Even when my mom and my grandma are upset and I can't make them feel okay about it.
Yeah.
Even when they still identify with suffering, I can be in a space of joy, like removing that influence. So let's see. So stage of healing, I got to 5, so we're one step up. And then subjective units of distress is at age 12, subjective units of distress, well, even, yeah, that I knew what I wanted, that's a 0. So the distress of your parent, your mom and your grandma being upset and people being disrupted because you're going to leave and you want to go here, that's a 0 now. So that's good.
Awesome.
And then, yeah. And then your subjective units of elation for I know what I want, that's a 10. I like that. That went up to a 10. So I want to say, when I know what I want, so I need you to say a few more statements. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to know what I want
I'm free to know what I want
and to feel joy,
and to feel joy,
even if I can't make it doesn't happen. I can't control other people.
yeah, even if it doesn't happen, because I can't control other people.
I can't create love for someone else.
I can't create love for someone else.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I can know what I want
I can know what I want
and I can feel joy whether I get it or not.
and I can feel joy whether I get it or not.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to connect to myself,
to connect to myself,
even if it means
even if,
even if it means I know what I want,
even if it means I know what I want.
and I may not have a control over making that happen.
And I may not have control over making that happen.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I can stop trying to, I can stop trying to make people, it's like you're spending a lot of energy trying to get people to do something you can't get them to do. So it's like spinning your wheels, and this is like, I don't want them to be upset. So without this pattern, I can stop trying to change people.
without this pattern, I can stop trying to change people
And make their life better.
and make their life better.
And instead, I can just love them.
And instead, I can just love them.
And make the best and take all that energy back
And take all that energy back
that I left at the family when I was 12.
that I left at the family when I was 12.
I take all of that energy that I left with them back.
I take all of that energy that I left with them back.
Yeah. So that I can be whole and connected.
So that I can be whole and connected.
And show up 100% for myself.
And show up 100% for myself.
And the people I love.
And the people I love.
The people that matter.
And the people that matter.
Even if I can't, I don't have to change them anymore.
I don't have to change them anymore.
And that frees up a lot of energy.
And that frees up a lot of energy.
For me to take actions.
For me to take actions.
Based on what I want.
Based on what I want.
Based on love.
Based on love.
And I can love that whole part of me.
And I can love that whole part of me.
That identified, that believed I had to identify with suffering to belong.
That believed I had to identify with suffering to belong.
I take that part of me, that rejected part of me, back into my life.
I take that rejected part of me back into my life.
And I let love transform her too.
And I let love transform her too.
Because I have some say in that.
Because I have some say in that.
I don't have say over mom and grandma.
I don't have say over mom and grandma.
But I'm going to bring back that 12-year-old into me.
But I'm going to bring that 12-year-old back into me.
And I'm going to let love transform her.
And I'm going to let love transform her.
And then breathe. Yay. All right. Yeah. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
even when someone I love doesn't understand what I want or know how to support it,
even when someone I love doesn't understand what I want or know how to support it,
I can give myself love and support.
I can give myself love and support.
And there is joy in that.
And there's joy in that.
And I can receive love and support from God.
And I can receive love and support from God.
And there is joy in that.
And there's joy in that.
And then breathe. Yeah. All right. So let me go back to, you feeling better? Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I'm
good.
feeling. You know,
You're feeling. Yeah. Yay. That's good. I know that's a big
that's
deal
where
for you.
a good step.
It feels, yeah, I felt some really big shifts along there that I was like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Like what I didn't expect to see that, you said, I don't know what I want, but that's like a protective device, because what I wanted was I wanted my mom and my grandma to support me in this move that was good for me and good for them, and they couldn't do it. And what I really wanted was more love for them. I wanted more opportunity for me. I wanted to experience greater love, and so that was kind of like amazing to me. Like that would be one reason why when I know what I want, it has felt very stressful, because people go nutsy bobo around me.
Okay.
And the influence of them has your selfishness says, well, I can't handle them going nutsy bobo, so I'm just going to check out. That's why I said that's selfish. You need to say, when I'm checking out, I'm being totally selfish because I have decided I cannot handle this upset and that there's nobody here to help me handle it. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to be unselfish and I'm going to show up demonstrating love in my life and joy, and in the hopes that they might get it and then they could change in their own life. But I let go of being the one who changes them. I just know I can control me. That's it. So yeah, so I'm hoping that what you'll notice is that when, that you're not as afraid to know what you want, of adverse, because your brain is like, no, that's really upsetting to know what you want from age 12, that's better. And you can be honest with yourself and say, no, I know what I want. I want the whole world to heal. And I don't know. And I want them not to be upset that I move on, and it's like, once you get those things real clear in your head, doing things like, do I want to do an EPT? At what level I want to do it? Or do I want to do yoga? Or do I want to write a book? Or whatever. Those things get real easy when you get those straightened out. So anyway, I think so. I think, yeah. And I'm also hoping that, that you start to notice some joy in your life. I mean, I heard that definition of joy just over the weekend, that joy is the good feeling you can have when you don't get what you want. And I had to let that wash over me. And I thought, man, that is so true. So true. So anyway, I don't know. I'm going to open it up and see. Thank you, Sherry, for making all of that. Wow, there's 13 people on here. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now, but I'm going to open it up
Okay.
if anybody has anything